Hey guys, Zibboyeye or just Zib is fine, and today we're looking at the follow-up to Ring. No, not that one. Yeah, that one. 1 year after the dual release of Ring and Rasen, Ring 2 emerged in theaters across Japan. Supposedly, Rasen was a failure amongst viewers, thus Ring 2 sought to replace it. However, production-wise, Rasen had one benefit. The story was already written. It was a book. Ring 2 had to be new. In order to attain authenticity, the studio got author of the novels, Koji Suzuki, to write an original plot for the film. That left the studio one more concern to address. One common complaint towards Rasen was that the film was too different from Ring. To remedy this, Ring 2 attempts to recapture the essence of the first film by acquiring many of the main actors from Ring, delegating directorial responsibilities to Hideo Nakata once more, and shifting the thematic of the script from sci-fi back to supernatural. And it seemed to have worked. In the Ring collection, you'd hardly tell Rasen was included, as it's only given a small blurb on the back of the box. Ring 2 definitely achieved more notoriety than Rasen, but is it deserved? How does it stack up as a sequel? Let's find out and look at Ring 2. The plot of Ring 2 retcons Rasen, so it only builds off the first film. The movie features Mai Takano as the lead protagonist. Mai searches for the cause behind the death of her boyfriend, Ryuji Takayama. To do so, she searches for Ryuji's ex, Reiko Asakawa of the first film. Mai later finds her and her son, Yoichi. However, Yoichi displays strong psychokinetic powers. As it turns out, his anger channels Sadako. After Reiko dies, Mai takes responsibility for Yoichi, hoping to free him from Sadako's clutches. The horror in this film is reminiscent of Ring. Contrary to Rasen's reliance on shock, Ring 2 returns to the more quiet, atmospheric scene build-up. This is one thing I'll give Ring 2 over Rasen. The different horror of Rasen could be alienating for fans of the first film, while Ring 2 aligns more with that of the original. Although it's not completely similar to Ring, there are a few more jumps. The film makes more overt attempts to scare you. I prefer the more natural horror of Ring, where the horror is derived from the environment. As for the plot, we follow Mai, whom I believe is a great choice of protagonist for the film. As the girlfriend of Ryuji, Mai has a personal motivation to investigate into the curse. But this conceptually strong motivation is weakened due to execution. Her and Ryuji's relationship is given no depth. It's practically non-existent. Now let's see how Rasen handled it.
こうして触れると人の考えてることがわかる。私のこと分かってくれたの高山先生だけだった。
We see their deep connection was based on their ESP, something unique about both of them that made them feel like only they could relate to each other. But since Rasen is retconned, I have to disregard this backstory. So what does Ring 2 give us?
先生近くなんですか?
部屋で考えるよりここの方が集中できるんだ。
They met on a bench, big whoop. There is a lot of potential in Mai's motivation, which Rasen achieved, that is lost in this movie. I could have had more investment in Mai if the movie invested more meaning into the relationship that serves as the basis for her quest. My other issue with Mai is that she doesn't watch the tape. None of the main characters watch the tape. In the first two films, the curse acted as a countdown. The anticipation for the 7th day drove the suspense of the film. Ring 2 is not only lacking this huge element of suspense of its predecessors, but the key premise of the series. Without a curse that limits the protagonist's lifespan, it lacks what I identify the franchise with. There is one character who watches the video, but it plays minimal importance. Okazaki, a journalist, continues Reiko's report on the rumored cursed tape. He gets a lead from a girl named Kanae who says she knows someone with the VHS. Supplying him with a copy, she begs him to watch it.
私見ちゃったんだゆうべ。Okazakiさん見てくれるでしょ?
そりゃ見るよ。
However, Okazaki neglects her wish, resulting in her death. Okazaki later watches his interview with Kanae only to find she's become a curse herself. Now, despite what you may think, the body holds the most plot significance out of this. Detective Omuda shows Mai the body in order to convince her to reveal Reiko's location.
だとしたらほっとくわけいかない。あそこはどこにいるんだ。呼んだ。
However, I question the necessity of the Okazaki Kanai plot as a means to this end. The writers could have just had the detective show Mai Ryuji's body. It would have still convinced her to give information, forfeiting this plot detour while still illustrating the detective's ruthlessness. Kanai's curse introduced in this plot thread can also easily be cut from the script. Neither Mai nor any of the other main characters make contact with Okazaki hereafter. Neither his absence nor Kanai's curse affect the story. For such a huge development as a new curse to be so irrelevant is grossly disproportionate. With the easy alternative to the body and superfluous Kanai spirit, this plotline feels like a wasteful side trek. Beyond that, it makes little sense. Kanai's interview was taken before she watched the video. She was not cursed at this point.
金門見たの？
私見ちゃったんだゆうべ。
So none of Sadako could have bled into the video. Also keep in mind, it is established that Sadako was alive for 30 years in the well. Her focused thoughts during that time were how she was able to will the video into existence.
人間の思念は一つのエネルギーであり実体化しうる。つまりビデオにも30年分の思念がこもっている。
Meanwhile, Kanai died instantly. She had no time to will any curse into existence. Unlike Sadako, Kanai has no ESP, and she has only been dead for only a few hours. Yet she already has a haunting spirit and cursed tape that took Sadako 30 years to manifest. Even within this film's continuity, it makes no sense Kanai can do all this. It feels like a contrived excuse to give Okazaki his comeuppance. To top it all off, the film ends on Kanai's spirit haunting Okazaki in a mental hospital. As if this minimally used character in this minor plot has any staying power or impact. There is a new, actually relevant curse to the film, but it acts different from the tape. This curse is incurred upon those who witness Sadako. For ease of distinction, I'll refer to this as the Sadako's Witness curse. One side effect of said curse is the subject projecting Sadako's video onto nearby TVs. Also, quick note, American adaptation The Ring lifted the TV blocking curtain from this scene. This projection could have been a great way to give Mai the iconic 7-day curse. It would have given the film higher stakes and make it feel more in line with the series. However, the film neglects this opportunity. But my biggest and most prominent issue with the film is its liberal attitude towards continuity. For example, Mai's ESP. Mai states that she has the same powers as Ryuji.
君にも高山と同じ力があるのか？
Ryuji had mind-reading powers, but with a stipulation. He needed contact with a person in order to see into someone's memory. Mai uses touch to access visions of the past as well. However, this isn't always the case, as she's shown to see the past on her own.
お父さん許して陽一を救うには。
She sees visions of the missing Yoichi too? Then, by the end of the film, the spirit of Ryuji offers to absorb Yoichi's fear?
陽一、お前の恐怖を俺に送れ。
And Yoichi can transmit fear through his hand? In the first film, Ryuji could only read people's minds, Yoichi could only see spirits. Neither entails this weird hand emotion transference. You can't just pull this power out of thin air, especially during the climax. Considering this and the inconsistencies with Mai's abilities, it feels like the writers used ESP as a ride-all for any power they wanted. This can also be said about the supernatural component of the film. I've already covered the absurdly implausible Kanai curse, but there's more. For example, the Sadako's Witness curse. They try to establish how this works using character Dr. Kawajiri. Essentially, the curse operates on the energy of thoughts.
生駒博士は観念は生物なりって言ったんだ。人間の思念は一つのエネルギーであり実体化しうる。
This means pretty much anything. We know those cursed can project a video onto nearby TVs, and Yoichi is said to display this.
父の家から帰った時テレビが一人でについたの。陽一が近づいたら
But then, post midpoint of the film, Yoichi is able to stop people's breathing and also energy blast them away? Adding on to cursed Yoichi's repertoire, by the end of the film, Yoichi's power of the day forces Dr. Kawajiri to grab a machine and fry himself in a pool. We're over halfway through the film. These abilities should have at least been hinted at in the first act. Not even Sadako could do all this, so you can't pin it on her fury. Yoichi is constantly having new powers made up without a proper basis. Speaking of making stuff up, for the climax, Dr. Kawajiri attaches electrodes to Yoichi, who will channel Sadako's fury into Mai, who will conduct Sadako through wires leading to a pool, where Sadako will then dissipate?
海水では浸透率が落ちる。貞子の怨念を受け入れる大量の真水が必要だ。
This is the basis for the climax, an overly complex, hard-to-follow ghost adventure scheme. From the ESP powers to this energy of mind theory, Ring 2 falters from one big problem. That is that a movie with a heavy reliance on the supernatural in some ways can be easy to write. The supernatural isn't an exact science. I mean, no one has deductively proven ghosts do or don't exist, let alone found how they operate. Since the world of the unknown has no rigid structure, supernatural stories allow more liberties to the writer. But no matter what fictional world, establishing and following a set of rules is essential. Yet whether it be established in the first film or this film, whatever rules Ring 2 has, Ring 2 breaks. Between the inconsistent abilities of Mai, Ryuji, and cursed Yoichi, as well as Kanai's disproportionately powerful spirit, and the stretch of logic that is the climax, the film feels like its writers are making it up as they go along. This is detrimental for any suspense. Suspense is the result of anticipation, but to be able to anticipate these plot points would border on clairvoyance. Rather than asking what will happen, will he do this, will she do that, I just gave up. What's the point of asking when they'll pull out something you had no way of knowing? It's like if on a test you were given the answers A, B, C, or D, only to be told the right answer was E. This is why fictional worlds need to establish and follow a set of rules. Otherwise, you get Ring 2, a film that undermines suspense in favor of a cheating narrative. In many ways, Ring 2 resembles that of the first film. From its emphasis on the supernatural to the returning players to the ambient scene build-up, Ring 2 attempts to appeal to fans of its predecessor. On a superficial level, these aspects make Ring 2 a more appropriate sequel than Rasen. However, in terms of substance, I vastly prefer Rasen. Its development strengthens Mai more than this film, it expands greatly upon Sadako's motives, its striking question of autonomy's weight, all reasons why I love Rasen. Yet sadly, the studio chose to retcon all that due to Rasen's less than stellar reception. The flimsy writing and focus on mimicking what made the first film popular adds up to a lazy and desperate attempt to recapture success that I identify as Ring 2. But does that speak for the next entry in the series that would become the last Ring film for years to come? We'll answer just that next time in the Ring universe with Ring 0. I've been Zibboyeye, or just Zib is fine, and thank you for watching. Zibbo, bye bye!